Over the last couple of months, I've still been working very, very, very hard to finish reading The Savior's Sister by Jenna Moreci. I've been a little bit busy. If you want to check out my freelance video, you can find out a little bit why. But I have been traveling a little bit, and I have been rollerblading and listening to audiobooks. So this book club, Babble and Brew, talks about 3 audiobooks that I finished in the last month or so. So stick around. Welcome to The Right Mama. My name is Jennifer Aline. I am a freelance writer, a women's fiction writer, and the mother of twin girls. Like I said, I haven't had a ton of time to sit back, relax, open a book, a physical book, and read in the last month or so. And that makes me very sad, and that will be changing very soon. But like I said, I've been on the road a little bit more. I've been driving in the car a little bit more, which has allowed me to listen to some audiobooks. I've also been rollerblading a little bit more, which also lets me jump right back into the books I was listening to. So we're going to start off with an audiobook I finished like 2 months ago, but I haven't talked about it yet. This audiobook is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. And it was one that I'd heard a lot about. And since I already had like a lineup of all the books I wanted to physically read, I threw it onto my audiobook list. Such a Fun Age is about a nanny who is Black, who gets a call one night after she's been out with some friends to come and grab the little girl that she nannies and take her out of the house just because there's a situation going on. And the family says, I'll pay you if you can just take her and walk her down to the market for a little bit, just to kind of get her out so she doesn't experience this situation with the cops. So the nanny does that, and her friend comes with her. They bring her to the market. They bring the little girl. They're having a great time, and they get accused of stealing the little girl. And that's really the main concept of the story. And it takes the viewpoint of the nanny and the mom of the little girl. You learn a lot about their backstory, their personal life, their relationships, their friendships, motherhood, adult life in your 20s, those kind of dynamics. And it's a good story. I can't say that I hated it, but I can't say that I loved it. I would rate it drumroll, I would rate it 3 stars. And this is why. Like some recent books I've been either listening to or reading, I had a hard time finding the stakes and motivation and overarching plot. I felt like it was a story, it was a good story, but I didn't know where I was going with it. There was a big moment at the beginning. And after that big moment, I was like, okay, what are we doing now? I liked how there were 2 separate kind of main characters, and they had their own background story. They had their own conflict they were kind of going through, but it was also just kind of going through the motions of life. And while some people like to read about that, a lot of modern readers like to have a goal in mind, there's something their story is leading toward. And I didn't really get that. I don't want to say I hated this book, because I did not. There are a lot of pros on top of the cons. There's a lot of diversity, great character diversity, great character development. All the characters are very unique and different with very individual voices. I also think something that's very important is that the narrator was good. I really liked listening to the narrator. In the past, I've had issues with narrators where they drive me insane, but this one I liked. So I would say, again, that this story I'd give 3 stars. I think you should read it if you like to read a good, intense, interesting, fun story. But it did have some confusion when it came to where the story was going. The next audiobook I listened to was One to Watch by, Kate Stayman London. I hope I said that right. This one was a story I'd actually never heard of. The only reason I bought it was because I was scrolling after I finished Such a Fun Age, and it came up. And the background of the story seemed interesting. It's about a plus-size influencer who comments about a dating show, and they reach out and ask her to go on the dating show. And it was really good. I have to give this audiobook, after starting off a little bit wary about it, I have to give it 5 stars. I really loved it. The reason I was a little bit at the beginning was because this story incorporates a lot of multimedia. And what I mean is text conversations, emails, blogs, podcasts, and I know that some authors can do a great job with that, but some authors don't. And listening to it at the beginning of when I started listening to it, I wasn't sure if I was going to like having multimedia involved, just because I've read books where they do it really not well. But as the story went on, I really liked how well she incorporated the blogs and the podcasts and this and that into the story. It worked really well and actually inspired me to do something similar for my current work in progress. Again, this narrator, I really like this narrator. I think after whoever the narrator was from the last book club Babble and Brew that I complained about, I think the world just wanted me to have narrators that I liked. But I did like this narrator a lot, and I liked this storyline. Again, diversity was everywhere. You know, different sized people, different races. There was also discussion of asexuality in this one, which was good. And the reality of social media and how cruel people can be, and cyberbullying, and showing how it's never really going away. I listened to this one very quickly. It was really good, and I suggest checking it out. And the third audiobook that I finished was How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. For some reason, I always mess up the authors. I had never seen or heard of this book until I finished One to Watch, and I decided, this sounds good. And I will say the title and the cover grabbed me on this one. I really liked the title and I really liked the cover. So I clicked it and started listening. I really did enjoy this story as well, and I will give this one 4.5 stars. And I liked the narrator. There were times that she seemed a little whiny, but overall, it was perfectly fine. The storyline follows a girl whose friends kind of give her a challenge to try to, do all these things on a to-do list because she's an adult and she hasn't really gone off and done all these things as an adult in the past because of a bad relationship she had. So she meets somebody and she thinks this person's going to be a one-night stand so she can check it off her to-do list, and it ends up not being that, but she checks off a few other things with him. I will say that there is abuse in this story, so as a trigger warning, if you're somebody who does not like to read stories about abusive relationships, don't read this one. I think one downfall of this story was the title, and the title grabbed me immediately. I thought maybe it was going to be kind of a mix of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and something else. It seems like it was going to be really interesting and actually kind of similar to what That Age, my previous work in progress, was about. It seemed like it might be similar to some dynamics from that book and from my current work in progress. The title, honestly, I would have named the book something different probably. I don't think that title worked really well with the overall concept of the story. It wasn't horrible for the story, but I don't think the title really encompassed the entire story, if that makes any sense. Another good thing about the story is the sex scenes. They're really good. They're feisty and fun and dangerously filled with imagery. They're good, people. Oh, same with One to Watch. Really good sex scenes. Again, I really liked this book, and like I said, the only downfall really I think was the title. I think it gave me a different view of what the story would be about, but there's a lot of diversity, a really unique main character voice that is very relatable, and it's a fun storyline, and it's very hopeful. It's a good woman empowerment book, and if you like that kind of stuff, check it out. The audiobook that I just started listening to is The X Talk by, again, I'm going to mess up this author, Rachel Lynn Solomon. And I just started this honestly because, one, the title reminded me of my current work in progress, and I felt like, maybe this will be a comp title in the future. And it just had a really cool overall storyline. It is about this woman who works at a radio station, and this guy who's a little younger than her, who just came in and kind of started impressing everybody. And because of situation at the station, they end up having to do a show together and lie to the world that they once dated and they're exes now. And they're doing the X Talk, kind of a play on the sex talk, on the air. I love that kind of stuff. Seemed really interesting and very sort of ish similar to my work in progress, like on a very far level, but it seemed similar enough that I wanted to check it out. I started that so far. I'm liking it. We'll see what happens. And I do want to plug in a little look into something I think will also be a comp title for for my current work in progress, which I haven't talked much about, but I saw this book when I was out of town recently at a local bookshop, and I had to grab it because I've seen people reading it, and it's got some dynamics in there that my current work in progress has, and that is The Right Swipe by Alicia Ray. Ray. I apologize if I messed up her name. So this is I haven't talked much about the storyline of my work in progress, but there is a dating app involved in my work in progress. That's all I'm going to say. So I thought that reading the story might just kind of be good for me to read because there's a dating app involved, obviously, and, more comp titles, the better. So this one is also on my TBR list after I read and finish Save Your Sister, and I still have to read The Cyborg Tinkerer by Meglator, and as an aerialist, I have to read that next. There you guys have it. Thanks for checking out this episode of Book Club Babble and Brew. Hope it was more discussion, less babble, but hey, it's me. I babble all the time. If you like this kind of stuff, click subscribe and click the thumbs up button. I post most Fridays, usually every Friday. So thank you so much. Stay creative and my new mom mug. Stay caffeinated.